Welcome back, it's Winstreak. Today we're diving into a super simple trick to enhance any game: floating text. Whether it's damage numbers, XP pop-ups, or some quirky text effects, this will take your visuals to the next level. So what is it that makes floating text so important? Here we have our player character hacking away at the enemy. Are we winning? Did we critically strike? There's no way to tell because with zero player feedback, the action feels flat and unresponsive. So let's add some feedback. Here we've got a text box as close as possible to the actual fight. It does the job, sure. But even with the combat happening right on top of the feedback, it draws the eye away from the animation. It's functional, but not ideal. Next up, we have fading text. This handles player feedback much better by keeping the focus near the action. Honestly, I have no qualms with fading text. It's already a massive improvement, and in fact, I like to blend the two together for the best of both worlds. And finally, here we have floating text. Not only does it provide instant feedback, but it adds an extra bit of flair to make the combat feel alive. Want to take it a step further? Add a size fade, or even a shake screen on those critical hits. Those small touches will make a huge difference. Pretty cool, right? Floating text creates instant, impactful feedback that keeps the player focused and engaged. So, how do you add floating text to your game? For today's mechanic, we're going to handle everything with tweens. But first, let's quickly cover what a tween actually is. A tween, short for in-betweening, is a time-based animation that automatically transitions smoothly between a start point and an end point. And it's not just about moving positions. You can animate almost anything: opacity, size, rotation, or even colors. The best part? Tweens are super simple to use and can be found under Behaviors. To get started, our goal is to create a small example game where floating text appears when our player character takes damage. We'll start with a character object to receive the floating damage. Meet Hubert. Next, we'll add a text object. This little guy is what we'll animate to float and fade. So let's add the tween behavior to it. Now we just need a way to trigger the damage. For that, I'll create a bullet object, just a tiny 5x5 black square. With a simple event, I'll make it so pressing the spacebar creates a bullet on the left side of the screen. The bullet will travel towards Hubert with a force of 300 and get deleted on contact. Now, we've set up an event that signals that Hubert has taken damage. And this event only happens once, thanks to the bullet being deleted on impact, which is perfect for triggering our tweens, since those should also only happen once. So in our event sheet, let's go ahead and create our damage text. Here's a quick tip. Text objects adjust their width based on the text they display. So when we create the text, we'll hold off on positioning for now. First, we'll set the text to a random integer between 1 and 150, simulating damage. Once that's done, we can position the text relative to Hubert. We'll start at Hubert's center, using Hubert.centerX function and Hubert.centerY function. Then, to finish centering on the x-axis, we need to subtract half of the width of the text from the x position. And just like that, the text is ready to go. Now for the fun part.
Tweens!
We'll use two separate animations, one to make the text float and another to make it fade. First, let's create the float. Find the tween property for the text object's Y position. Give the tween a name like floating. This will allow you to reference this tween later. Now set the new position relative to its start, like floating_text.y minus 200. Then you can choose an easing type. These control how the movement feels, similar to how acceleration and deceleration work, but the easing type will not change the overall duration. Finally, set that duration. We'll be using 0.5. So inside of this event, you can actually apply multiple tweens at once, but instead, let's look at how chaining tweens would work. So once one finishes, we'll start the next. To chain our tweens, let's add a new event using the condition tween floating is finished. This ensures the next tween starts only after the first one ends. And a best practice, always remove the finished tween as your first action. It's not strictly necessary unless you plan to reuse the name, but it's a good cleanup discipline. Now create a new tween for fading the text out. Go ahead and set all the properties. Then for this tween, once it finishes, set the action to delete the text object. And there you have it. You've created a floating, fading text for your game. Want to take it further? Try changing the text color, or adding a fancy font, or even experimenting with new tweens like scaling the text to grow or shrink over time. Thank you to everyone who supports me with likes, comments, and view time. Together, we've reached a new milestone of over 10,000 watch hours, which is more than 1 full year of time spent viewing my tutorials. And as always, I am super grateful to my channel members. Thank you, Don. Thank you, RobCop. And thank you, Tony. That's all for this time. Peace.